So, you guys may have noticed that I never uploaded that pre-release calc video that I promised I would upload, right? And the reason I decided to not upload it was because of just exactly how people treat me whenever I talk about WoWa, right? Whenever I make a video talking about character strength and possible power levels, people take me saying straight up facts as doom posting, which is completely embarrassing. And so I decided this time around, I'm not gonna make a video on this until the guides are out and the content creators make their own videos, so that I can have double the confirmation of what I was going to say, right? And so now that it's live, 2.4 is live, Septimon is live, all the guide content creators are saying the exact same shit that I have been saying for weeks. For fucking weeks. But the difference is, people don't hate these content creators. So obviously, you know, there is still some discord in like their discourse in their comments, but it's nowhere near as bad as when I make videos talking about these WoW characters, right? In terms of increasing the damage for their DPS, Chicona is actually a Phoebe situation. In my opinion, Cartia is actually worse than Zany, which I'll get into a little bit. But for those who want to know, I am going to be referencing Chem's calcs here. Keep in mind his Cartia calcs are currently a work in progress, right? But they are accurate considering Sweetly already made her own video, and her performance jump from S0R1 Chicona compared to SK is around the exact same that Chem has in his calcs, right? It's around 40%. So Phoebe with no weapon is around like a 22 to 23% overall increase over Spectro Rover in a Zany team, and Phoebe with weapon I believe is around 32-33. Chicona is around the exact same thing without weapon at 22 to 23% better overall than SK, and with weapon nearly 40%. And this matches up with Sweetly's video on there being about a 42% difference for her when she ran as 0R1 Chicona versus with SK, right? And yes, she did it in a tower with no buffs. So this goes to show that it's actually slightly worse than a Phoebe situation if you get Chicona's weapon, because Chicona's weapon is really fucking good. It applies minus 10% arrow res shred if you inflict enemies with arrow erosion, right? So it's pretty easy to keep that uptime, especially with Chicona's resonance lib. And yeah, I mean, it's strong. There's nothing else to really say about it, right? Chicona also makes Cartia rotations more smoother, right? Just like Phoebe did for Zany. There's also the weapon situation. Now, I feel like most of us can agree on this. The only reason Cartia is HP scaling is because of EOG synergy. I feel like they really wanted to sell Cartia's weapon, so they're just making signatures bigger and bigger and bigger jumps the further we go into the game, right? Cartia's weapon is for sure a very, very noticeable jump from EOG. Chem's calcs have it at 30%. Some people have it at like slightly little more, but I am going to be referencing Chem's current calcs in this video. So around a 30% jump from the signature over EOG, 23% jump from S0R0 Chicona over SK, and a 40% jump or near it with Chicona plus weapon versus SK. And if you compare to Sanhua, it's even worse. It's even worse. Sanhua is like over 50% worse than a Chicona plus weapon for a Cartia. Now, the reason I think Cartia is actually worse than a Zany situation is because at least with Zany, you can pull Phoebe and then just run SK Phoebe for the rest of your life, right? You don't have like the MC constantly stuck to your team, right? There's two options. You can choose between Spectro Rover, or you can choose between pulling for Phoebe. And you can do this exact same thing for Cartia with Chicona. But the difference is, instead of Phoebe's jump, or like Phoebe's performance jump, like Spectro Rover's a free unit, right? Everybody has access to him. We are comparing to SK for Cartia, right? SK is the highest value limited unit in the entirety of this game, arguably, right? So you're comparing to the highest value limited unit for a Cartia team compared to a Zany team who's comparing to a free MC. And then, yeah, you can replace this, limited unit with Chicona, but then there's another issue. Arrow Rover is an integral part to her kit. Not only does he have a weapon that has a multiplicative damage increase for arrow, right? He increases the max arrow erosion stacks that the team can inflict to 6 instead of the normal 3. And Cartia even has something in her kit, I don't remember what it is, it's called like wind strings or something, that only works with Arrow Rover being on the team. So Arrow Rover is an insanely integral part to this character's kit. Unlike Zany, where you can pull Phoebe and then get rid of Rover from the team, Arrow Rover is in there for Cartia no matter fucking what. Cartia's kit scales up to 6 arrow erosion stacks. If you have no Arrow Rover, you're losing the extra damage from his weapon, you're losing the synergy with the wind strings in Cartia's kit, and you're losing overall damage at the exact same time. To add on top of this, you can eat arrow erosion through Flordalis a lot more, comfortably if you have an entire 6 stacks on enemies compared to no Arrow Rover. You have 3 stacks and you're going to be eating through that arrow erosion incredibly quickly, right? So in my opinion, at least, Cartia is worse than an Arrow Rover, a Zany situation, right? Now, does this mean that Cartia can't clear endgame content? No. No one is saying this. When people talk about restrictive kits or power creep in these types of games, no one is ever referring to it literally being impossible to clear. The point is, it's scummy, and it's getting worse and worse and worse every single patch we go forward into WoWa, right? Signature weapons are getting worse, reliance on supports are getting worse, characters are becoming more niche and have more restrictive kits that are locking a lot of their damage if you don't have the full premium team. It only continues to get worse over time, right? And do you guys want that? No. I'd assume most people don't actually want this, right? Like, you need to understand, we're already comparing, like, compared to, like, other games. WoWa is comparing their signatures to the standard 5 stars, right? You need to keep in mind, the 4-star options not named Overture and Variation in this game are fucking dog shit. So if we're already at the point where consistently every new character release has like a near 30% if not more increase over the standard weapons, compared to 4 stars, it's not even fucking close, right? Like, there are no other options usually compared to the standard weapons, right? So that's just my opinion, and that's just my statement. Do I think that's that big of a deal? No. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I come from HSR. If you guys know HSR, it has some of the worst power creep and HP inflation of the mainstream gachas. However, I've been able to clear in that game completely fine. An Acheron lasted me a year with no Zhao, right? I can simply learn to be better at the game and be able to clear it, right? Clearing will never be an issue for me in gacha games like this. But Videos like this are needed, and I'm glad more content creators for Wuwa and guide makers are becoming less and less scared to openly be honest and talk about this, because the reality is that at the end of the day, Kuro is also a gacha company, a billion-dollar one. I've seen some funny jokes about people saying, comparing Hoyo versus Kuro, it being like billion-dollar gacha company versus Wuwa, when both of them are billion-dollar gacha companies. Like, I don't understand why people thought, Kuro would like be different. All gachas go down the same route. Now, can one be objectively better than the other? Yes. However, it won't change the very nature of these games and what these companies want at the end of the day, right? Do I think this Cartia and Zany situation sucks? Yes. Does it affect me? No. It doesn't affect me in the fucking slightest. I have a full premium Zany team, and I literally skipped Cartia because I care more about fun and playing with Brant, Lupa, and hopefully Galbraina in the future. I can run her as like a main fusion DPS with my Brant and my Lupa, right? But people need to stop like deluding themselves, right? A lot of people still play into gacha tribalism these days, and I have a video on it already, but it is completely pathetic. Please stop feeding into gacha tribalism. We are in the big 25. You are defending a multi-billion-dollar company that is trying to milk as much money as possible from you and does not care about your health or what you think, right? The only reason Wuwa was as generous as it was at the beginning of the game was because it was literally dying. It was dying. They had multiple bad patch streak. People were leaving even when they offered the free Zhang Liao because of how dead the patch was. You guys need to understand this, right? It's a gacha company at the end of the day. This isn't gonna, make the game go EOS, but it is a bad sign for things to come in the future. And you can fight against it, or at least disagree and realize how bad it is, while also admitting that you just don't care for it or it doesn't affect you, such as I, right? Love you all. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great night. Peace out.